right. So welcome everyone. Holly should be joining in just 1 minute. There she is. All right.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear us? It looks like we have almost a full house today.
Yay.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody joining us, and I really want to thank those from Larimer County that are here. We have different city officials from some of our major cities, local school officials, and then community members as well. So thank you all for being here. I'm Holly McElwee. I'm the marketing manager here at Gallegos Sanitation. I've been with the company about 2.5 years, and I'm part of the green team here, and I work really closely with Becca. I've also been in marketing for about 15 years here throughout all of Northern Colorado in various roles. Before we get started today, though, I'd like to go over just some of the basic housekeeping rules. We will have a 45-minute presentation followed by about a 15-minute question and answer session. I do anticipate there's going to be lots of questions come up, so if that's the case and we run over time, this session is recorded, so we will go ahead and send out a link of the full presentation with the full question and answer session enclosed within that link, and we'll also type up some of that information as well, so you have that, and it should be towards the end of the week. Additionally, at the bottom of your screen, if you look, there's a little button and it says chat. Go ahead and chat your questions throughout the presentation. I will collect those, but we will save those till the very end and let Becca go ahead and explain and answer all of those. Okay, enough about the rules. Let's go to the fun part. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Becca Walkinshaw. She is my dear colleague, my friend, and she serves on my team here at Gallegos Sanitation. She's been with our company for over 13 years. I'm sure you've seen her out and about in the community. She's in the role of sustainability, compliance reporting. She works really closely with municipalities, with local businesses, and she's zero waste certified on the international front as well. And to add a little feather into her cap, she's recently been named Waste 360's 40 Under 40 award winner. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to her, and she's going to give us a whole 360 view of waste and recycling here at Gallegos Sanitation. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Holly.
Absolutely.
Everyone can hear me and see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone being here today. Happy America Recycles Day. We were thinking of what we wanted to do to celebrate every year at GSI. We do some sort of celebration. And we thought, since everything's going on with the pandemic and a lot of us are working from home or remote, we would do a webinar and really celebrate recycling, celebrate the collaboration it takes to make recycling happen, community by community, region by region, on a local, state, national level, and a global level. So thank you so much for your collaboration and for being here. We are gonna first talk about the history of waste, then we'll talk about the shifts, because shift happens, right? And then we'll talk about best practices. So first, when it comes to the history of waste, we cannot talk about waste in Northern Colorado without talking about Gallegos Sanitation. Yes, they're my employer. They have done amazing things in this community for over 60 years. And when Art, Rudy, and Jerry, who are the owners of the company, first started, they started in downtown Fort Collins. And back at that time, people used to burn their trash and they would pick up that ashes and haul them away. So what started as 3 sons and a father, we have almost 300 employees, and we reach all over Northern Colorado. From Greeley, we also are in Wyoming, Cheyenne, and Laramie. We're in Fort Collins, all the top communities. We go as far down south as Berthoud, and we're even in some mountain communities. So I just really honor and appreciate everything Gallegos Sanitation has done for our community. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a video. Last year, they won a Legacy Award. So this will just give you a little sneak peek into the family business and how that works.
My father, when he came here from the San Luis Valley in the late 30s, was the beginning of the Gallegos clan here in Fort Collins. He was able to finance and buy a small truck He built racks on it, and we used that, and we went out and worked. He had gotten a number of customers set up where he could clean their lawns and rake leaves, and but he involved us. That was our job. We jumped up to another size truck, and then in 1964, we introduced the first automated truck in Fort Collins.
Being an entrepreneur and innovator, Edward Gallegos continued to improve on his growing business.
In the case of our company now, we have over 200 employees. And as owners, we want our employees to enjoy life as much as they can. I'll go out there and I'll talk to, starting with the end of the shop, and then I'll go into the next shop, and I'll make sure that they all see me and they know me, you know.
Gallegos Sanitation goes above and beyond to participate in green initiatives to protect the environment for the benefit of the community.
We don't want to see anything more going into the landfill in the ground. We want to see it recycled. And for that reason, that's why we're working with the local facilities here for recycling, getting all that we can there, cardboard, whatever the case is, the recyclable materials, we try to furnish that to them. When you start a new business, it's all about service. Treat people right and they'll treat you right. And that's kind of how it is.
As a 4-generation company, the Gallegos have been able to watch their children and grandchildren step into the family business.
Every one of our kids have a position. They all do good work for the company. They all help out when it's necessary, and they all give us 100%. I appreciate the fact that when I come to work, I'm going to see everybody. We feel that everything that we give back is an expression of appreciation for what the city of Fort Collins has done for us. We just have a very positive feeling about the city of Fort Collins, our customers, and all the inhabitants. This is a great place to live.
All right. I'm proud of myself. I did not get teary-eyed there. Let me go ahead and from current slide, you can all still see it. Good. All right. So as you can see, Gallegos Sanitation has been, they've been a big part of the culture and community of recycling. And what started in Fort Collins has grown to be Northern Colorado. And that's part of this presentation, is that we are a region now. Northern Colorado, all the communities, businesses, and homes we serve, we actually all have the same guidelines and we go by the same processes for recycling. And so in this webinar, we have a lot of municipalities, but we also have people from a lot of different communities joining. So that's really exciting. Okay, so here is our first trivia question. I'm gonna look at it in the chat, so you can put the answer in the chat. But our first trivia question is this: what is the golden rule of recycling? And this golden rule of recycling is true for the past, what's happening now, and it will always be true for the future. And it really, it encompasses everything about recycling. So I'll give you a minute and see what you come up with. Got when in doubt, leave it out. Reduce first. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Clean it. Recycle right. Okay, we're close. That's not.
We're hot. We're getting hot, but we're not
hot. Right. So let's. All right, Katie Stiglmeyer. Good job. So the answer is actually, no matter what we're talking about recycling anywhere, the answer is that someone must buy the material and make it into something new in order for it to be recycled, right? There has to be demand. So that is truly the golden rule of recycling. There's a lot of other rules, reduce, no plastic bags, sort, that type of stuff. But truly, in order to make recycling work, someone has to buy it and make it into something new. Good job for your question or your answers. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the golden rule as we progress. So what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about single stream recycling. So that's what most of us participate in when we mix it all together and put it in either our dumpster or our curbside bin at home, right? We mix the core materials. Here's a coloring page that we have. And those are core materials that come from 3 places really. And so I like people to realize this, that it should be in your kitchen, right? When you look in your pantry, most everything in your pantry, minus some plastic film, can go into your recycle bin. Things from the bathroom, like your shampoo bottles and those types of things, can go into the recycle bin. And things from your laundry, right? Kitchen, bathroom, laundry. Those are the core areas that you're going to find materials to put in your recycle bin. So when it comes to recycling, when it comes to the whole process, as you can see here, I believe it was the EPA, but Sustainable Materials Management, it was either the EPA or the state of Colorado came out in the last couple of years and really talking about this, like, you know, how are we going to focus on the most preferred, which as we saw from your answers, like Meg said, reduce, reuse, recycle, right? And so that is the hierarchy that they're looking at. And when it comes to Gallegos, as you can see, we're between the usage and the end of life management. So what we do is you hire us to pick up your materials, and then we take them to either the recycle center or to the landfill. So sustainable materials management is kind of like the basics of sustainability and trying to really bring to light and create infrastructure for things like composting, recycling, and reuse. I also there is literally hours of information we could talk about with circular economy, these different buzzwords, but I did want to bring to light outside of sustainable materials management. You know, we're hearing a lot more about the circular economy, which really focuses on design at the top, designing things to be recycled, right? Not recycling and hoping it'll fit. So we really want brands and producers to really think about that. It's a very big ideas, and you're seeing a lot more talk of that. Closed loop recycling, which we have one here in Colorado, we'll talk about it later, and things like zero waste, and looking at the hierarchy of best use. So those are all other definitions you'll hear used for recycling. And at the end, we'll send out a survey. So if you like what you saw today, we can actually do more webinars and talk more about these ideas. All right, so we understand a single stream recycling, and then, you know, where are we today, right? Where are we with goals? Why are we recycling? How did Northern Colorado get to where they're at with, in my opinion, very progressive and big goals around waste diversion, keeping materials out of the landfill, and recycling? The city of Fort Collins has had, you know, a pay-as-you-throw policy system for many years now, where they incentivize recycling and by making trash more expensive. So the more you throw away, the more you pay, the more you recycle. The cost is really built in on the trash side. And so we've seen pay as you throw. City of Fort Collins was an early adopter for that. But since that, we've seen a lot more goals come on board. So in Fort Collins, you see the Road to Zero Waste, there's climate action plans. Then you see stuff happening in a county, right? So in Larimer County, which a lot of the big communities reside, we're now seeing regional waste shed planning, where they're going to expand the pay-as-you-throw system for residential. They'll probably look at commercial eventually, just trying to give more people access to recycling and also organic recycling, such as yard waste. And then we also see that there's state diversion goals, right? This is from 2018. I want to thank EcoCycle, who I got this information from. But you can see for the Front Range in 2018, we were about 18%, and their goal for us next year is to be at 32%. So all these goals basically move into policy, and then we'll see different policy at like Fort Collins level. We're starting to see it more at a region, or I'm sorry, a county level and a state level. I also wanted to bring up, I really like this, there's a zero waste video from EcoCycle, and they talk about when it comes to emissions and greenhouse gases, the 3 areas you want to look at for reduction are smokestacks, tailpipes, and trash cans, right? So these are the 3 areas that we can look at to reduce. All right, moving to the next slide. So I wanted to talk about, we have goals and we have policy. So what is happening? What are the trends that are helping us to reach those goals? So what we're seeing is, a very common simplistic idea. You tax what you don't want and you incentivize what you do want. So we're seeing more tax at the landfill. We had like an RREO tax that was going in a couple of years ago. The new one is the Front Range Waste Diversion Grant Program, where you're going to get charged more when you dump your trash. However, they're going to take all that money and then they're going to put it into recycling and closed loop programs for Colorado, where people can apply for those and really help to innovate and get Colorado where it needs to be to have to be more self-sustaining with our materials. Other, mandatory reporting, you can't manage what you don't measure. So, on different community levels, county, state, we're reporting, we're seeing more pay as you throw. And at a broader level, we're seeing packaging fees. I just read this yesterday, the Recycle Partnership and the American Chemistry Council, they're looking at doing some packaging fees with different types of packages and taking that money and doing some brands who are creating these packages would pay these individuals, and then they would work on creating more of a circular economy. And then you see the same thing with producer responsibility. Also some trends you're seeing, Gallegos is a small recycler, but we're just a little guy, but you're seeing bigger operators like Waste Management, Republic, really investing a lot in infrastructure, in MRFs, in sustainability, CNG, electrified vehicles. So it's a lot of fun stuff happening. So I'm not going to talk too much about the why in recycling. I'm just checking my time. I can talk a lot. I'm not going to talk too much about the why, but one thing I think that really might hit home here in Fort Collins in Northern Colorado is the landfill space. We're seeing it's can be challenging to build a new landfill, expensive. So really, minimizing what needs to go to the landfill. There's a lot of reductions in electricity used and water used. If you think about this can, the energy saved from recycling a can would power my laptop for 3 hours. So it's powerful, right? It's powerful stuff. So I want to go and talk about market history. When I'm talking about market, right, what I'm talking about is that golden rule that someone has to buy the material and make it into something new. So market or buyers. So in the past 20 years, let's say, over half the materials that America recycled would go over to China. We would get paid a fair price for the materials. It was really about quantity, right? Recycle as much as you can, it's fine, they'll sort it out. There was a lot of proprietary stuff going on, and there was a big lack of oversight of what was happening. We kind of sent our stuff overseas, and we just said, hey, we're recycling, it's a good thing. And including myself, I believed that we were doing good. What we found is that through this process, I'll go back here, that things weren't really being managed correctly overseas. And so there was a lot of pollution, there was a lot of illegal dumping happening. And so China specifically said, you know what? We care about our homeland, and we want to make sure that we're not going to be your dumping ground anymore, essentially. So that was a huge, record scratcher, right? All of a sudden, everyone's like, holy moly, this is crazy. And so we shifted, right? And it really turned recycling upside down because we didn't have the golden rule anymore. We didn't have someone to buy our materials. So changes in demand. So we saw stuff happening. It was kind of like the slow progress with China. We first saw the green fence, then we saw the green sword, and then Project Blue Sky is really where a lot of things came to a halt, and where they started really inspecting the materials, the bales of material we brought there. Things got more expensive to process because the quality of materials had to increase, the banned materials coming in. So it was a big wave for recyclers, haulers, MRF operators, right? The whole global market was disrupted. But what happened is, you know, me as an optimist, is we shifted and we had a lot more local infrastructure coming to the US. So it was very exciting. Well, fast forward, right? Another year or so, and then COVID hit. So what we're seeing with COVID is, you know, we're still seeing a growth overall. We've seen very consistent growth that we have year after year. What's happened is we've increased recyclable materials about 5% from this time last year, but we've really decreased commercially, and we've had a huge spike residentially. So basically, what happens there is that the material recipe, right? If you're going to be making a material into something new, there's a certain recipe. And whereas we used to have a lot of commercial cardboard, think about schools, right? Think about, does anyone have a, you know, paper or textbooks or anything like they did anymore? We went from 0 to 100 on paperless, right? In the last year with COVID. So a lot of things had shifted, which actually, you know, shifted how the US respond and has changed some of our, how the market is reacting. So I like to remind everyone that recycling is hyper-local, okay, hyper-local. This is an image, I think I got it from Resource Recycling off their website, but what it is every little dot is where a MRF is. And I haven't really explained a MRF, I'll explain it in the next slide. But basically they're the places that process and sell the material from single stream. So as you can see, Colorado has a few. Recycling is considered critical infrastructure. So through this whole process, we've been able to keep recycling going. And what we've also seen is through this process is that what they've talked, I watched a webinar from Waste 360 a few months ago, and they really talked about that supply and demand, all right, where we don't really think about, but things like paper and cardboard, they're super important to the product that we want, such as toilet paper. So we really need to make sure that we're getting those streams, such as paper and cardboard, into the recycle bin so we can get the supply that we need. So they really talked about that supply chain. So saying that, we have over 300 MRFs. Here in Northern Colorado, we use one MRF. So here, if you're in Fort Collins, basically if you work with Gallegos or if you work with waste management and you're in Johnstown or you're in Wellington, we all are using the same MRF in Denver that's run by Waste Management. That is proprietary MRF, so we don't get to know all the secrets and everything, but we do have a good relationship with them. And you know, recycling is about collaboration and communication. So the MRF, us, other haulers, all the communities, the municipalities, we work together to make sure that you all have the best information and that you're recycling right. So I've got some recycle percentages there. So I have a quick video, but basically what I want to show when I talk about that MRF, you see here it says work, that's GSI, but this is where we are right now. And you see we pick up a lot of Northern Colorado in this area. We take it to the Larimer County Recycle Center, which is a transfer station. And from there, they take it down to Denver, to the Franklin Street MRF. And so that's where all the magic happens. I'm going to show you this 3-minute video. I've been using it for like a decade, so some of you who are on here may have seen it, but I love it. I think it's a really simplified way of explaining recycling. I'm going to show that to you.
Recycling is anything but old school. In fact, these days, the cutting-edge single-stream process allows you to put all your items into one cart to be recycled, saving communities money and diverting materials away from landfills. But what happens to your recycled items after you leave them out on the curb? Let's follow this truck to the MRF to find out more. The Material Recovery Facility, or MRF for short, is where the unsorted recycled items are mechanically separated. The materials are first loaded onto a conveyor belt and carried to a V-screen separator that uses a series of fast-moving rotators to remove paper and cardboard from the other items. Once separated, the paper is taken to a mill and loaded into a de-inker that literally lifts the type off the page. It is then reduced to pulp slurry and taken to a high-speed washing machine that removes any remaining debris. Now clean, the pulp is pressed by steam-heated rollers and is ready to be made into new paper products, like newspaper and paper towels. Back at the MRF, the remaining items continue on to a series of heavy-duty magnets that collect items made of iron, tin, and steel. Since aluminum isn't magnetic, it keeps moving toward an eddy current rotor. Eddy currents create strong fields of energy around non-magnetic metals, repelling them away from the rotor. The metal materials are then taken to a smelter and exposed to extremely high heat. The molten metal is cast into bars called ingots, which are sent to manufacturers who shape them into new products like aluminum cans and file cabinets. Returning to the MRF, the remaining materials continue on to an optical scanner that recognizes the plastic items and collects them using directed blasts of air. Later, at a reclaimer, the plastic items are sorted and fed into a grinder that churns them into flakes. The ground up flakes are then melted down and shipped to manufacturers who reform the polymer mixture into new products, such as t-shirts and baseball caps. The separation process comes to an end, and the glass items are taken to a reclaimer and crushed into cullet. The cullet is then melted down and made into new products, such as beach sand and glass fault. You might think that the story ends there, but many recycled materials are sent overseas, where they're made into new products, some of which are shipped back to be used and recycled again. It goes to show that our planet really is just one big neighborhood.
All right, let's see here. So I think that does a great job of explaining how a MRF operates. Our MRF is obviously a lot different, but it gives a general idea of what it looks like. And I love to ask people to look at the type of materials that are on there. Again, it's just stuff from kitchen, laundry, and bath. You know, we're not grabbing all these other random materials like bowling balls, type things like that. So you're not seeing hoses in there. You're not seeing bags of recycling in there. So it's really important to just really understand what should go into single stream. And then here's a picture of, you know, some of the bales at the Franklin Street MRF and what that looks like, how those will be then sold to the end market. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about what we've seen over the last year or more. We are still seeing contamination. We have had, I say increase, it's kind of waxes and wanes a little bit, but you know, we're still at like 13% contamination in our loads here from Larimer County. The costs have gone, they are fluctuating. We've had some all-time highs this year. We're seeing a lot of diversity in packaging, which makes it really confusing for consumers. And you know, we're increasing the amounts of materials that are recycling. What we're decreased are, you know, our market options. So with COVID, some of these areas that might have taken it, like some mills for paper, they're at a standstill right now, waiting for things to pass. We've also, this isn't really single stream recycling, but we've really increased and upped our organics recycling. Over 20% of our residential customers at GSI have yard waste program. So we've really been able to increase those types of materials and keep them out of the landfill. And then what stayed consistent, our diversion. We've wavered about 1%, both residentially and commercially, and our landfill remains consistent. So everything, yeah, this is what's happening right now with the pandemic. So for us, and I should say, so we were at 15% last year when we did this Help NoCo Get Back to Green campaign. And really we're, you know, asking people to really focus on recycling right. And, you know, that's a huge, huge stressor for us. We want the community to know that it is important to only stick to what you see in the guidelines, right? We want you to know that recycling and contamination in recycling is very costly. And while we are, or I shouldn't say we, but while these bigger companies like Waste Management are investing a lot into the MRFs to help sort out contamination for us, we really want to do more community outreach, more education to make sure that everyone's hearing the same message and there isn't confusion. So really, we're really focusing on just the materials, the bottles, the boxes, papers, jugs, and cans. So this is like our epic picture. This is a couple of years ago when one of our very first loads we had rejected. And so this was a commercial load taken in for recycling. So can you tell me in the chat box, what is wrong? What's in there that should not be? What's in the recycling that should not be? Yes, right. Tons of plastic bags. And so I had worked with, I think it's Layla at Waste Management. And I was asking her about plastic bags this week, preparing for this. And she said about 20% of the contamination that comes in to the material recovery facility is in bags. And I have to tell you, if you put your recycling in a bag, it will not get recycled. It won't. So it ends up getting scooped out and going in the trash. So I think there's a disconnect there. This looks like just trash being put in recycling, but we do see a lot of bags. Here's some other recycled dumpsters we focused on, but it's because some people say, well, you know, we need a guide. So here you can see there's the recycle guide, but you've got bags, you've got wood in there. Same with the other, lots of bags. So bags is our number one problem, and contamination in general is a problem. So we have on our website a dirty dozen, which are the top contaminants that we see. It's this little box with the 9 images, or I'm sorry, the 12 images. So we will, we can actually probably send out that link when we send out the notes and stuff from this event, but just really knowing that these things do not belong. You know, we also want to make sure that containers are pretty clean, right? If it's like water or soda, milk, you know, just dump it out. But one of our rejections was someone had put fish in there and ketchup. So we had ketchup bottles that got all over the paper. So we really want to really stress that someone else is buying this and making it into something new, right? That's the goal of recycling. We're selling commodities. So you really want to make sure that it's clean and something that you would buy. So yes, contamination, no bags. So here is our updated recycle guide for the new year. And I want to say I'm really grateful to Larimer County, City of Loveland, City of Fort Collins, because we're very collaborative, and we've really worked together to, you'll see the City of Fort Collins has guidelines that are they're all the same materials. We've just kind of branded it for our liking and our taste, but we all really do work together and collaborate a lot to make sure that you do know and understand what to put in your bin. So again, like knowing what to include, which we say metal and glass jars, plastic bottles, tubs, jugs, and jars, paper and cardboard cartons. And then just as important is to always focus on and know what you can't include. All right, so we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. Let me check my time here. So okay, I've got about 15 minutes. So we're gonna go through the different materials, and we'll give a little tidbits. And so again, if you have questions about specific materials, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. All right, plastic containers. So again, I've really, you know, if you look at that, that is stuff from the kitchen, from the laundry room, and your bathroom, right? So those are the types of materials that we want into the bin, and it is about shape, okay? So we're really focusing on the shape. It needs to be the bottle, jug, or tub, right? And so that, I think, is the biggest confusion, because there is so much plastic out there. We see all sorts of random plastic going into the recycle bin. But we really, the simplest answer, kitchen, laundry, bath, and shape. And if it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't go in there. We had said it last year, recycle simply so others may simply recycle. So, you know, keep it simple. And if you don't know, you know, we have so many great people here in the community that are educators. So, or you can go to our waste wizard, you can give us a call and we'll walk through it with you. Some little tidbits about plastic. Plastics are difficult to recycle. If you remember, a few years ago, a study came out by I'm not going to remember their name, but they did the first study of trying to encompass all the plastic that was ever created since its inception. And they had stated that they believe that only less than 10% of all the plastic that was ever created could be recycled or had been recycled. The other thing is that plastic never goes away. The only way to truly get rid of plastic is incineration, right? So once plastic is in the environment, it's very difficult to manage. The other thing with plastic is, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, what's happening is we're about 25% is used for infrastructure, 25% is durable, but the huge push is that most plastic, what is getting produced today is single-use plastic, so a one and done. And if you can imagine, almost all of this single-use plastic, you know, look, this is all single-use plastic. So here's another trivia question. What in here on this picture, what can be recycled curbside? Don't be shy. What can be recycled curbside? Right. None of it can, right? And so we can, you know, recycle these plastic bottles, but also what's happening is with, you know, plastic is made from oil. And as you know, oil is very cheap right now. So with new people manufacturing, they're choosing to use, unfortunately, virgin oil than recycling, because recycling is costly. There's some kind of variations that happen when you recycle plastic. So we are seeing people choose to use virgin still. And then there's just been some market shifts. I had found out, let me see here, that from Layla at Waste Management, she had let me know that PET, right, these plastic bottle is at its lowest point in history, right? And so a lot of plastic bottles, they would make durable goods or make clothing, and things aren't pushing out as much right now because of it. They're not necessarily essential businesses. So there's actually a decline in demand as well. Glass containers. So I'll do real quick here, take a drink. All right, so the cool thing is that here in Colorado, we have a really amazing closed loop system with glass. So if you remember back in the day, not too long ago, maybe 5 years ago, we would say, oh my gosh, there was no recycle process. Glass was getting used as alternative daily cover in the landfill. And so we had recommended maybe sorting out your glass and bringing it to a drop-off location. Well, a lot has changed, and I did try to contact Momentum, and I didn't hear back from them for this presentation. But as I understand it, they're still going strong. Things are going well, and it's a truly closed loop system. So if you think about, you know, the Odells and the New Belgiums out there who make great beer, now what you can do is when you put your glass in your recycle bin, it's going to get taken to the MRF. It's going to get separated out. And so this is actually that big truck right there. That's all the glass, right? That's all the glass that's coming from the MRF going to Momentum. And then Momentum will process out all the material, and they'll make more glass bottles or more glass bottles. So it's a truly closed loop system. And when we talk about the circular economy and these types of things, this is what we want to see. So this is like the ideal situation on glass recycling and circular economy. Additionally, you know, when I talked about recycling being hyper local, most communities don't prefer glass recycling because they don't have a location close to them to recycle, where we have Momentum, and we also have Owen, Illinois, who actually makes these glass bottles. This is their process right there. So it's exciting stuff. All right, so metal containers. Now I've got my drama with my cans, right? So this is a really interesting story. Again, you know, you've heard the stories where there's a supply shortage of cans, right? Like some of the smaller guys, smaller breweries who want to can their beer, they can't do it because the demand is so high and they can't supply fast enough. And I thought that was really interesting. So again, I asked Waste Management what was going on, and Layla had let us know that, let's see here. Basically that, where did I put my can information? Basically that aluminum is actually low as well. So the demand. And what I found was interesting is I always had assumed that cans are made into new cans, but it's actually cans get made into durable goods. The durable goods that we might use like cars and stuff, they aren't being produced as much. Therefore, the demand for cans is down. Now there are, I know, cans that get made in like bottle bill states, can to can, because they're cleaner, but we don't have that here. So I found that interesting. However, you're going to see more campaigns in the next couple of years trying to get more people to recycle cans. And now remember, you don't have to rinse it, just dump it, give it a shake, make sure the sticky icky's out, and then you can recycle it. And same with, you know, cans from the pantry, anything with food or cans with like your dog food and cat food. So we really want to make sure that those get recycled. All right, so paper and cardboard. I'm just going to check my time here. Okay, I got about 5 minutes, so I'll kind of breeze through this. So paper and cardboard. As we talked about earlier, right? We have gone from having a lot of paper, a lot of white paper, office paper. That's completely stopped. We've seen a lot of shifts. Paper is super important for our economy to make sure that we can make, you know, e-commerce. Think about e-commerce. How many of us are ordering packages online? That all comes from recycled materials. Same with toilet paper. So we really want to make sure that people are recycling paper. Additionally, when I look at what we recycle at the Larimer Recycle Center, the majority of it is paper, 51%. So please don't underestimate the value of recycling your news, or I don't know if you get newspapers anymore, but all your mixed paper from your home and magazines and such. Same with cardboard. Keep recycling it. I see this in the trash all the time. It's super important, really helpful, and we need the cardboard. All right, so trash, again, know what to keep out. It's really important to understand. People ask about pizza boxes. You know, grease is fine, a little grease, but for the most part, if there's food or goo or yuck, we don't want it. And I think everything else on there, you know, just food, liquids, that type of stuff to keep out. Really quick, we'll go over best practices. So having the number one thing that I believe to help recycling is to have a recycle bin in a location where waste is created. So if you have multiple levels on your house, you should have one upstairs, in the laundry room area, in the basement, on your main level, in the garage. It will help people we just put it in the nearest bin. You know, centralized bins are important. We see these at multifamilies and that people can access. And we've also noticed like access points at multifamily. If you have multiple access points, there tends to be higher contamination. So having one access point and the recycle dumpster being in the back, we've seen reduced contamination. Want to label bins. And I know on the dumpsters I showed you, they had contamination in them, but we still want to label because, you know, the majority of people will pay attention. A lot of people believe blue to be recycling. They have that correlation, so we recommend blue. And then the city of Fort Collins has no plastic bag stickers. And we have seen that in some of our dumpsters that have those no plastic bag stickers, there is less contamination. You know, if you are a multifamily or a school, you know, providing recycling guides often, and then also really highlighting success, right? We want to bring to attention because there are so many conflicting, competing interests right now, but recycling is super important. You know, that has so many environmental benefits. To me, it's, you know, kind of what we're trying to work towards with the circular economy. There's so much value all over. So we want you all to be the champion for your organizations and really promote and celebrate your success. And then I would also recommend different areas, whether you're multifamily or maybe you're a school, you're going to have different materials. So really identifying those different materials and deciding what you want to recycle and highlighting those specific materials to your organization. Finally, I know I need to wrap up here. I had a school ask about if they're just starting, what should they do? Should they just do one? Should they do all? And the answer is it's up to you. We had a high school last year who had quit recycling because they had a lot of contamination. And then we came back and worked with them and identified, paper and cardboard would be their biggest bang, and to simplify that message and just make really simple signs. And so that's where they were going to start. But you can also start, we've worked with the school in another area that wanted to start with containers. So it's really individual to you and what you can manage, and simplifying the message is best. So keeping it simple. All right, so I always be celebrating. So at GSI, we want to celebrate the success of our residential customers. 96% of our residential customers in the big communities around here recycle. And then in the rural areas, 88% recycle. So they were really, really proud of that. And then also wanted to show that last year we recycled over 14,000 tons of single stream materials. And so this is a great celebration, and using the EPA WAR model, we came up with what that was equivalent to. So it's eliminating the miles driven, charging smartphones, powering homes, and planting. So all of these is because of you. All of these savings and greenhouse gas reductions and everything is because of the efforts and collaboration with you all. All right, so we're gonna do Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes left. Sorry for going over. We had a slow start here. So Holly's gonna read them, and we will see if I can answer them.
We have about 20 questions or so far that have come in, so I think we will run out of time. Let's go ahead and record this, and then we will send out a link post-event, and then also any of the questions we didn't get to, we will respond with a written answer.
All right.
Number one is from Nick Armstrong. How do we encourage producers or grocers to swap to recyclable packaging versus those clamshell containers that are not being recycled?
That is a great question, Nick. And I honestly, I think that's where we're seeing where I talked about earlier, the recycling partnership, where they're talking about packaging and the American Chemistry Council. So I think it's happening. It's not happening as fast as we would like it to happen. But, if these issues are important to you, rallying around these types of organizations. I'm a huge fan of the Recycle Partnership. I think they do amazing work. So looking into some of the stuff that they're doing. But I really don't have a great answer for you, and I apologize. I think it's hard because our system, it's such a big system that's built a certain way, and so we have to change it at top. Sorry, I couldn't give you a better answer there.
Thank you, Becca. We have Jana she's curious what happens to the recyclable material once it's picked up from the curb. I know you ended up getting into some of that on the proprietary side, but if you could just elaborate a little bit more, that would be great.
Absolutely. So we pick it up, or Gallegos or your hauler picks it up. We take it to the Larimer County Recycle Center. The Larimer County Recycle Center, then I believe they're still separating out the cardboard. They take the cardboard, I believe. And then they haul it to Denver, to the Franklin Street MRF, which is owned by Waste Management. And so that's why I say there's some proprietary information, because they are a private business. But what they do is they sort it and separate it by material type. So, by like milk jugs or laundry detergent jugs or water bottles, metal cans, steel cans. So they'll separate that all out, and then they sell it to the highest bidder. And again, they've gone to 80% of their markets are domestic, and 100% of their plastic that they're recycling all stays in the United States.
Thank you, Becca.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what the impacts are on material contamination from Cheyenne's materials being accepted at the Larimer County Recycle Center? Does it impact our value?
I'm actually not familiar with Cheyenne. We are all, as I understand it, we're a mixed bucket. So, anyone who utilizes the Larimer County Recycle Center, they will do audits quarterly, and they'll just scoop up materials. So it could be from GSI, it could be from other haulers, it could be from Cheyenne, I'm not sure. But right now, contamination, the latest report I had were about 13% of materials coming in. When I looked at the audits, sometimes we were as low as 7%, and sometimes we were closer to 20%. So it's kind of across the board, but I don't have that specific answer.
Okay, Thank you. For plastic containers, currently the guidelines only specify shapes and not resin codes. My question is, can we throw in plastic bottles and tubs, which are either number 5s or number 7s? Is there a market for these?
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure about plastic bottles that are number 7, but I would say yes. If it's a bottle, again, shape, and we don't want to focus on the bottom, which is the resin identification code, because it's really confusing. And we'll see a lot of number 1s that aren't bottles. And it was a huge it's too complicated, right? So again, don't focus on the number, focus on the shape. If it's a bottle, yes, go ahead, as long as it's empty, and same with the tub, that should be fine. And number 5 tubs, yes, that's great.
Okay. We have another question here. Do you suppose the Denver area recyclers would accept the same items as GSI? I don't think we can answer that because it's purely speculation. So I think that.
Well, I could say no. I mean, so we have our MRF, right? And so if you were going to go with Alpine, who is, I know they've had some changes, but their MRF is different than the Franklin Street MRF. They can accept different materials. They have different investments that they've made on the line to sort out certain materials. Same with EcoCycle, which is in Boulder. They accept different materials because of their processing line. So every MRF invests differently and there's different materials that come in that they decide depending on volumes and pricing. So that's a good question.
Thank you. Should you leave the lids on plastic, glass, bottles, tubs, jugs, and jars?
So lids, this is a funny one, right? Because we get, I remember talking to Caroline Mitchell about this because we get so into the lids. So again, it's a small portion. Lids, the biggest thing is we want the materials to be empty and dry, right? We don't want them slopping. If you have a lid on, it gets it very, like it won't dry out as much. So it's a little weird nuance, but they say put the lid on loosely and let it dry out. I think so it can drain out. I'm sorry, put the lid on loosely so it can drain out. Also with glass, you want to separate it because glass is metal. I'm sorry, glass lids are metal and the glass jar. So those, and they will get separated at the MRF. They'll separate out the metal. But I would say it's really up to you is the answer. Best practice is we just want it empty and dry as much as possible. So we're not slopping. Did that answer that? I know it's kind of a roundabout question.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to virgin plastic, who's buying it? Who buys, I'm sorry, let me reread that to you. So with virgin plastic being cheaper, who buys PCR?
What is PCR? Sorry, I don't know.
Let's see here. Let's
virgin
for that one and we'll research it and then get.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Thank you.
I leave beer bottles in the box. Is this good or bad?
I would say it's bad because those materials are going to get separated out. So I would leave them loose if possible.
Okay. That's source separated.
Yeah, source separated.
Great. Is it true if I crush my pop can, it's going to get kicked out at the MRF because it doesn't resemble the original shape of the can itself?
You know, I believe so. So this is something I learned from EcoCycle too with their education. They say containers fat, paper flat, right? So you want that container fat, especially with something like a can, because the type of sorter that uses it is air. And so it really needs to hit that whole can to sort it out. Now, if you were just going and recycling your metal cans at like Colorado Iron and Metal or something like that, then you can crush them. But in single stream, containers fat is what we say.
When it comes to the mailers that have the little glue dots on there, should you put those in the recycle bin or should they be landfilled?
Glue dots, I would say that that's fine to put in the recycle bin. It'll come out in the pulping. The only thing for mail, they just don't want those like plastic credit card type things. Windows are fine. That'll all come out in the pulping process.
Okay, thank you. I don't see what to do with Tetra Paks. They have several layers of materials. Soups come in these packages. I don't mean wax cardboard. that is used for milk. So they're meaning cartons essentially.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we didn't really touch on cartons. So cartons, sorry, I was trying to go back. But yeah, Tetra Paks, types of Tetra Paks, right? So there's, but the type that you would find in like your soup, or I get chai tea in that type of pack. There we go. Right down here, you can see those types, those are fine. We don't want any of the like, I don't know what the word would be, like more of the filmy kind. We want it to be this box shape. So yeah, those can be included in your single stream.
Perfect. We have a shout out for the Timberline Recycle Center. Contact Maureen McCarthy with any questions.
Yes,
She
and I should, you know, I know I have a minute. I do want to, you know, we have this great resource here in Fort Collins where you can take hard to recycle materials for a small fee. Plus there's a lot of drop off, and it's a great resource. We're so fortunate to have it, and Maureen is full of knowledge. So yes, we will forward your information, Maureen.
Okay. We have a Martha. She's asking if we provide our recycling flyer in a big sticker format to put on their bin. She lives in a multifamily complex. They have trash, and then they also have a recycling container, but it's gotten destroyed, some of the signs that she's actually physically put on the container. So Martha, we'll follow up with you after this presentation to get the name of the complex that you're in. And yes, we absolutely do have recycle guide stickers that go on the waste bins as well as also on the dumpsters. I'll put that on my list.
Thanks.
All right. How about compostable bioplastics like PLAs, cups, plates, clamshells, etc.? Due to industrial composting facilities in northern Colorado, it is a challenge, yet many stores sell these items and people are buying them. Are these ending up in the trash or in the recycling bins? Neither of which is good.
You know, PLA is not on like our top contaminant list. And I really do think it's such a small amount compared to the masses. We don't, in northern Colorado, have an industrial compost facility to take those. So if it gets in the recycling, I mean, we don't want that type mixing in. It's not, you know, we want you to keep it out. It would be a landfill item. There's different philosophies around PLA. So some people saying, well, it's made from renewable resources versus like plastic, which is made from petroleum. So there's benefits there. So there's a lot of conversations, but the end all be all is that PLA, because unless you're working with an industrial compost facility, which we don't really have here yet, they need to go in the trash.
Recently, the Wall Street Journal reported that due to lower office activity during COVID, there has been less white paper that's been generated. So there's a shortage. So mixed paper market is coming back as mills are converting to use these to produce white paper. Is that true in Colorado or not?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is. I was looking at our paper here. I didn't look at it from the past. Let me see if I have some information on there. We know demand for cardboard is at an all-time high. Mixed paper is low, but it's remained stable. Office paper demand is low, and it's expected to remain low as long as workers stay home. So again, the supply and demand, it's such a huge part of recycling.
We have just a few more here. Let me scroll down. My office struggles with contamination from plastic containers. Do you have plastic specific posters or printable guide that could be posted next to our recycling? Thanks, super helpful presentation.
We don't have plastic specific guide, but I like that idea, Holly. I think that's something we could work on.
We can add that to our to-do list, absolutely.
That's a great idea. So I think that our recycle guide, I don't have it in front of me. I can actually go back to it. We do show plastics on there, and really just focusing on the shape is important. So we have a whole section on plastic bottles, tubs, jugs, and jars. And I think, you know, a lot of the types of plastic we see that contaminates is the film or wrappers, those types of things. So we do want to, you know, educate kindly on keeping that stuff out.
For multifamily housing that has high contamination rates, would you recommend doing it just like a school and trying to recycle only paper or just glass? Or how would you go about it?
So for multifamily, so there are some best practices. So one of the best practices I know is that every resident should get a printed recycle guide when they move in or to start, and that could be on their fridge. We also have a multifamily guide that explains what's the difference between the trash and the recycle dumpster, which we take for granted. On exit signs on multifamily, I saw multifamily recently, I loved it. They had our recycle guide on the top and then our dumpster guide on what to use on the bottom. And so as you go out to dump your trash, that's right there. So that helps them to understand. And then again, making sure you have proper signage on your bins outside. And we've noticed with the access, some people just throw it over or they'll go to the bin that's closest to them. So we do recommend minimizing the access points. More access points, the more contamination. It's a weird correlation. And it's really up to you. I think single stream recycling is important. It's strong, and really just explaining the no bags, which I think is the biggest, and just to recycle only what's on here. Also we've worked with MFUs who we went in and did community presentations. Obviously things are not like that right now, but that's also an option as well. Kind of having some rah-rah community event and talking about recycling and the importance of it.
Yeah.
So you'll get there as long as you take the time to focus on it and celebrate it and keep evaluating. It can definitely improve.
Great, thank you for that. Just 3 more, it looks like.
Okay.
If you put products in a case and they're all glass, is it best to recycle it in the cardboard case or to separate it?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
If you buy glass products that are in a cardboard case, is it best to separate it or keep it all in the case?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is similar to the question we had before, if it's like in a 12-pack box, but I would say, I know like the 6-pack holders are nice and they'll probably break out of that, but the best practice would be to just put it in loosely and not have it in a case.
Do you know of any grants or programs for low-income multifamily housing to help separate out the recycling in the home or at the buildings?
Maureen, you're still on here, Maureen. Are you guys still doing the RAP program for low income? If you're in the city of Fort Collins, they used to have, and I think they still do, a waste reduction and recycling program. I'm seeing if Maureen's chatting here or not, that they could provide assistance. Outside of that, I know like we work with some low income housing units to provide recycling. So if you are with someone like the Housing Catalyst or whoever your low income is through, I would definitely talk to their administrator and see about what your options are.
And then Linda says she puts her paper in a paper bag. Is that a problem?
No, I think that's fine. Paper in a paper bag. I believe it's fine.
Okay. And Maureen did chat back. They are going strong with that program. So that person can go ahead and contact Maureen McCarthy or Caroline Mitchell at the City of Fort Collins.
Yeah, RAP, it's WRAP. So if you Google that, City of Fort Collins RAP, you'll find Caroline's information.
And it looks like our Q&A chat filled up again. Do you have time or do you need to, I know you have another presentation.
We could go about 5 more minutes. Yeah, I have a presentation at 1:30 that we need to get ready for. So.
All right, let me jump back in here. All right. Oh, Maureen McCarthy said they just created a plastic guide for the Timber Recycling Center that she can send out via email.
Oh, awesome.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Maureen. Right on top, on the ball.
And then the City of Fort Collins does have a cute video titled Caps On or Caps Off. So we'll share that YouTube link with the post survey that we send out and the wrap-up email. So I'll make a note of that. Corey Odell.
Thanks, Corey.
Information. And then we just have some private messages here. And then one other one are the audits that are done at the landfill per truck, by hauler, etc. Can you expand upon that for Stacy, please?
So as I understand it, it is just a scoop. So I don't think it's by truck. It's just by the day that they're there. I believe it to be quarterly, and it's random scoop of material that's audited. So there's no truck identification wrapped onto it. Sometimes when we go, they'll look at our trucks, and if it's contaminated, then they'll say, we can't have it here, which is, happens every so often, mostly commercially around. Yeah.
All right. Well, that looks like that wraps up the question and answer portion of this webinar today. I just want to thank everybody for being here. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Becca Walkinshaw directly. She's our go-to queen for all things green. That's what we like to say. And you could reach her at greenqueen@mywasteco.com or call 970-484-5556. We do have our waste wizard on our website that you can type in the material that you're wondering if it should be recycled or if it should be landfilled. It's just a Q&A, easy to use. And the city of Fort Collins also has their A to Z guide on their website as well. Becca, do you have anything else you would like to add today?
Yeah, I just wanted to end with just reminding the question, what's the best type of waste that's ever created? And it's the waste that's never created. I know, a little cheesy, but it's true. And, I've learned the quality of our life is the quality of our questions that we ask ourselves. So I wanted to leave here today asking you to make a pledge and a commitment. And if you want to do it in the chat, that's great. But what is one item, such as cans or plastic, that you can commit to and using today after seeing this webinar? I also want us to think about, what can you do to reduce your impact? What are you currently doing to reduce waste? Because a lot of us are doing a lot more than we actually think about. I know sometimes I'm hard on myself, and then my husband has to remind me, like, we do a lot, Becca. And then also, I feel like a lot of people, I saw the RSVP list. We have so many great leaders in Northern Colorado, and I'm so grateful to get to work with you all. So I think, as leaders, we have to ask, how can we reimagine? How can we support these circular economies? And what is the impact that we can make in our different industries and with our knowledge to help support these new systems? So that is, I am going to commit to decreasing my aluminum can usage. That's my commitment today. I drink a lot of carbonated water. So that is my commitment. So if you want to chat in a commitment, if you feel like making it, that would be great. Otherwise, we will talk to you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Now we got to get out of here.